The Geek Ruler Episode Number 105 Explanation. Outside the hidden spiritual courtyard, the boundless spiritual energy ripples calmed down. The powerful pressure that was emitting from the courtyard spirit also withdrew. The palm that swept along with a powerful spiritual energy stopped before Mu Chen. However, it did not land as its empty eyes were focusing on Mu Chen. However, Mu Chen knew that it was looking at the ancient tree rune on his forehead. It was something that the white-haired elder from the spiritual treasure mountain left for him. Mu Chen willed the great Meru demonic pillar to fly back and it hovered behind him. His body was still tense. The instant the courtyard spirit made any movements, he would immediately turn around and flee. Fortunately, the situation that Mu Chen wished for not to happen did not take place. The courtyard spirit was suspended before him as its empty eyes were flickering with light. Naturally, it no longer had any hostility towards Mu Chen. At the rear, Luo Li and Wen Qingxian, who were about to move and help Mu Chen, also stopped their movements. They had naturally sensed that something wasn't right as the courtyard spirit no longer attacked Mu Chen. What's going on? The two girls exchanged a glance and could see a hint of doubt in each other's eyes. What's going on? Mo Yu, Qin Feng, and the rest had also issued the same question. However, their tones were more to dark as they could vaguely feel that something was wrong. Under those gazes, Mu Chen saw that the courtyard spirit no longer had any signs of attacking him and gradually relaxed his body. Thereafter, he saw the courtyard spirit slowly bow as its empty voice resounded, "Identity confirmed. The successor has the qualifications to enter the hidden spiritual courtyard." Successor? You're talking about me? Mu Chen asked as his heartbeat raced. You possess the divine tree rune that deems your identification as the successor. The courtyard spirit's empty voice no longer had any enmity. So I'll be able to enter the hidden spiritual courtyard? The corner of Mu Chen's lips slightly twitched as he could not stop the surging excitement in his heart as he pointed towards the hidden spiritual courtyard. The courtyard spirit nodded its head. An uncontrollable excitement surged from Mu Chen's pupils, which made him softly chuckle. The sudden change of events made him feel a little unreal. Originally, they should be forced to retreat. But who could have imagined that he would suddenly become a successor? Furthermore, possessing the qualification to enter the hidden spiritual courtyard. Mu Chen's line of sight was directed towards Mo Yu and his group that was hiding within the hidden spiritual courtyard in ridicule. The latter seemed to have sensed something as their faces turned pale. Luo Li and Wen Qingxian cautiously approached Mu Chen. The courtyard spirit did not react to their actions as it only quietly stood beside Mu Chen, seemingly like a loyal servant. In the spiritual treasure mountain, that white-haired elder left me something which made this courtyard spirit address me as some successor. Mu Chen explained upon seeing the doubt in the eyes of the two girls. Luo Li and Wen Qingxian was dumbfounded from his explanation. Thereafter, the latter gritted her teeth as she spoke, "Is this divine wood palace founded by your house? Why does it seem that all the benefits goes to you?" Luo Li was also nodded in agreement. Not long after Mu Chen entered the divine wood palace, he had already obtained the most precious treasure of the spiritual treasure mountain, the 9 Suns divine Lingxi. And now, he became some successor. All these windfalls were something that could make others lament. Mu Chen awkwardly rubbed his nose as he spoke. This was something that I have obtained after risking my life. Earlier on, I was nearly killed by this courtyard spirit. Since this courtyard spirit listens to you, can you get it to get those fellows out? When Qingxian pointed towards the Academy Alliance parties that hid themselves in the hidden spiritual courtyard. Her expression was filled with enmity. Mu Chen smiled as he looked at Mo Yu's group, who had a paled faces at this moment. Seems like I'm the one that will be laughing till the end. What do you want? Mo Yu said in a stern voice. However, the paleness of his face was not as intimidating as his tone. He was panicking in his heart at this moment. Never, in his wildest imagination, could he expect that the courtyard spirit would suddenly listen to Mu Chen's orders. Get out. Mu Chen smiled. Dream on. Mo Yu furiously barked. Thereafter, he turned around and sent a palm out towards the hidden spiritual courtyard. He wanted to obtain the sovereign spiritual liquid quickly and leave this place with his men. Bang! However, just when he was about to come in contact with the gigantic door, a ray of light burst forth from the door as a fearsome energy charged out, which sent Mo Yu flying. Poof! Mo Yu's feet flew backwards as a mouthful of blood spurted from his mouth. Why is this happening? Didn't we break the seal here? Qin Feng and the rest exclaimed at the sight of it. Only the successor can enter the hidden spiritual courtyard. Anyone else that dares to intrude will be killed. The courtyard spirit's empty voice resounded. Mu Chen was startled at the scene of it. The things in the Divine Wood Palace were really uneasy to take. If he had not met that white-haired elder from before, even if they had managed to somehow deal with Mo Yu and his group, it was also impossible for them to enter the hidden spiritual courtyard. The strength of this courtyard spirit was simply too powerful. To them, someone that possessed the strength of a third-grade spirit disaster was extremely troublesome. I'll give you guys two choices. Everyone get out or I'll have the courtyard spirit do it. Mu Chen chuckled as he looked at Mo Yu's party and continued, so, what is your choice? The faces of Mo Yu and his party changed. They wanted to reject with a sneer. However, they saw Mu Chen's gaze gradually turn cold and instantly felt a chill in their hearts. Although there were some rules to this great spiritual academy tournament, if Mu Chen really wanted to act, he had quite a few means to force them to stay. From their understanding towards Mu Chen, that fellow was not a lenient person. Mu Chen, we'll admit defeat here. How about this, we'll split the things in the hidden spiritual courtyard in half. Thereafter, you will be considered as a friend of our Academy Alliance. We would definitely help if there's anything that you need of us. Mo Yu said as his gaze flickered. Mu Chen smiled as he looked at them. He shook his head slowly yet firmly. From his understanding towards a person like Mo Yu, he was someone that was greedy and ruthless. Even if they split the treasures equally now, Mo Yu would definitely bite him if he gets the chance to do so. You don't have much time left to make the decision, Mu Chen said in indifference. Mo Yu's face turned extremely ugly as he glanced at Qin Feng and the group of people from the Academy Alliance. They were dispirited and did not have any intentions to carry on with the fight. He waved his hand in unwillingness. Seeing his gesture, all those that hid within the range of the hidden spiritual courtyard charged out. They took a glance towards Mu Chen's group of three in fear as they gathered at an area far from those three. Qin Feng and Liu Xiong stood behind Mo Yu. Their faces were as ugly as if their father had died. Let's go. Mo Yu ruthlessly glanced at Mu Chen before waving his hand and was about to lead his party away. Wait. Mu Chen smiled. What do you still want? Kill all of us here? Mo Yu sneered. The Great Spiritual Academy tournament had rules of its own. If they all died here, the Spiritual Academy that stood behind them would definitely not let this matter go. Generally speaking, there were some bottom-line rules to the Great Spiritual Academy tournament. It forbade killing. Although it's a little troublesome to kill all of you here, but if I want to cripple the three of you, I think it's still within the rules. Mu Chen said without a hint of expression. Mo Yu, Qin Feng, and Liu Xiong's figures jolted as they looked at Mu Chen, who was without any expression. In the end, they could only lower their heads. What do you want? Hand over the Divine Wood plaque in your hands. Mu Chen extended his hand out and demanded. He still remembered the words from the white-haired elder. Every single one of the 6 Divine Wood plaques contained a lesser divine art. By combining the 6 lesser divine arts, it would certainly turn into a powerful divine art, even within the records of the Divine Wood Palace. You? Hearing that Mu Chen was having ideas of his Divine Wood plaque, fury surged within Mo Yu's eyes. Mu Chen kept his hand extended as he coldly looked at Mo Yu. On the surface of his body, spiritual energy surged forth. Even Luo Li and Wen Qingxian were looking at them with hostility. Consider this your win. Our Academy Alliance will definitely remember today's matters. Mo Yu suppressed the anger in his heart as he left behind that sentence. Thereafter, his palm jolted as a greenish light flew towards Mu Chen. Mu Chen grabbed it. When the light dissipated, it revealed a Divine Wood plaque. Only then did he nod his head in satisfaction. Let's go. Mo Yu ruthlessly glared at Mu Chen before waving his hand. His silhouette was miserable as he skimmed towards the forest. Behind him, those of the Academy Alliance followed in depression. They had lost all of their face. Mu Chen glanced at Mo Yu's party, who was quickly leaving as he said with pity, "It's a pity about that Divine Wood Guard." He wanted to take their Divine Wood Guard as well. However, if that was the case, Mo Yu and his party would willingly risk it and go all out. Naturally, the main thing was that Mu Chen realized that it was impossible to control it, even if he managed to obtain that Divine Wood Guard, as the control rune on the Divine Wood Guard was extremely intact. It was incomparable to his broken goods. They were robbed by you to the point that they nearly cried. When Qingxian laughed. Only a villain could grind another villain. Mu Chen smiled as he continued, "There's nothing to be lenient about when dealing with those fellows. Quickly open the hidden spiritual courtyard. I want to see how much sovereign spiritual liquid is left in the Divine Wood Palace." When Qingxian anxiously said as she looked at the hidden spiritual courtyard. Mu Chen nodded his head at her words as expectation filled his heart as well. When Mu Chen directed his line of sight towards the hidden spiritual courtyard, the courtyard spirit waved its hands as a ray of light flew out and shot onto the closely shut doors. As the light flew out, a complicated light rune instantly surfaced on the door. Creak. In the instant that the light rune appeared, Mu Chen's group of 3 saw the massive wooden door that had been shut for God knows how many years had finally slowly opened. The hidden spiritual courtyard that was sealed shut for thousands and hundreds of years had once again seen the light. The massive wooden door opened along with an ancient noise, as if there was an aura that came from the primordial time surging out and covered this entire region. Let's go and take a look. Mu Chen's gaze was brightly lit as he looked at the opening door of the hidden spiritual courtyard. A smear of blaze flashed in the depths of his eyes. Shortly after, he smiled towards Luo Li and Wen Qingxian as his figure had appeared at the door of the hidden spiritual courtyard. Standing there, the antique aura was blowing on his face, which gave him a peculiar feeling, as if he had gone back in time. As the huge door opened, greenish light was unveiled. The light was filled with nourishing life force. Mu Chen carefully stepped into it, and as his foot stepped into it and did not sense any peculiar movements, only then did he ease down. He stepped into it, and behind him, Luo Li and Wen Qingxian were cautiously following behind him. Spiritual energy ripples were fluctuating on them. Clearly, they were holding their guards up. Behind the door, it was a path as it was covered in greenish light. Mu Chen and his group of 3 were cautiously walking on the layer of light. The path wasn't long as they had quickly paced to the end of it. Thereafter, the scene before them turned vast, and what followed after was dense astonishment appearing on the surface of their faces. It was a pool that was floating in the air that appeared before them. The pool was green in color as it emitted dense vitality, emitting fearsome spiritual energy ripples. Plop! A sound suddenly came from the green pool as they saw greenish small fishes swimming about. Thereafter, they were wagging their tails as they swam in the air. Those small fishes were green in color as they emitted astral light, appearing to be extremely agile. However, Mu Chen and his group could sense extremely pure and powerful spiritual energy ripples coming from the body of those small fishes. Where is the sovereign spiritual liquid? Mu Chen was a little startled as he looked at the greenish pool as his face twitched. Could that water all be the sovereign spiritual liquid? Wasn't that a little too frightening? If that was the case, how much sovereign spiritual liquid was there? Dream on. When Qingxian rolled her eyes at Mu Chen. Thereafter, her slender fingers pointed towards those small fishes that were swimming in the air. Those are the sovereign spiritual liquid. Mu Chen widened his mouth as he stared in a daze at those green small fishes. He was like a country pumpkin that had not seen the world before. But of course, this was his first time seeing the sovereign spiritual liquid. Shouldn't that be in a liquid state? Why did it become the appearance of a small fish? Sovereign spiritual liquid was something that only experts could refine. The spiritual energy contained in it is not only pure, but also possesses spirituality. Naturally, that spirituality depended on the refiner's strength. Therefore, sovereign spiritual liquid of higher grades possessed the ability to take form. Luo Li smiled, Generally speaking, the higher the quality of sovereign spiritual liquid, the bigger the form it would take. I have seen the form of a drop of sovereign spiritual liquid that was refined by a heavenly sovereign for a year. It was something that I'm afraid that not even this hidden spiritual courtyard could contain. Mu Chen could not help smacking his lips inwardly. The level of a sovereign was naturally not something that the current him could imagine. No wonder it was a dividing range for cultivation in the great thousand world. All those beneath of sovereign realm were ants. These sovereign spiritual liquids aren't easy to store. When Qingxuan's expression turned grave as she looked at those adorable swimming fishes. Getting it will be very troublesome. Mu Chen asked in doubt. Do you think that as long as you have entered the hidden spiritual courtyard, you will be able to take all the sovereign spiritual liquid here with a wave of your hand? When Qingxian ruthlessly stuck on the aspect that Mu Chen had no knowledge of as she spoke, sovereign spiritual liquid possesses a trace of spirituality. Speaking from a certain aspect, it possesses powerful energy as well. Although that energy would not explode, it would dodge and escape capture by instinct. Therefore, if you want to capture it, it will not be easy. Truly deserving to be called the sovereign spiritual liquid. Mu Chen sighed. Hearing Wen Qingxuan's words, it piqued his interest as he said in eager, "Then, let me give it a try." As he finished his speech, his figure moved and burst forth. Buzz. When his figure flew, all those green fishes that were casually swimming seemed to have been startled as they started to disperse. As they dispersed, they unleashed astonishing speed as Mu Chen could only see the numerous streaks of green light and could not see their bodies. What astonishing speed! Mu Chen was also startled. Shortly after, a dragon image appeared beneath his feet as a dragon roar thundered. His speed instantly spiked as boundless spiritual energy swept out from his body. It turned into spiritual energy hands as it rapidly flew out, grabbing onto a green light. Boom! Boom! The liquid was so beautiful that it made others unable to shift their eyes from it. Within the small liquid, it seemed as if there was an entire world existing within it. As the light diminished, it made people intoxicated in it. Mu Chen extended his palm as the sovereign spiritual liquid hovered on his palm. He could sense the frightening amount of spiritual energy contained within it. The energy contained was even stronger than his spiritual energy. However, that form of spiritual energy had no offensive characteristics to it. Despite being pure, it had a trace of spirituality mixed within it, being extremely bizarre. This is the sovereign spiritual liquid. As Mu Chen muttered, his heart shook. This was something that was refined for a month by sovereigns, their masterpiece. Hereby missing the bigger picture as it contained all sorts of exceptionally brilliant methods possessed by sovereigns. It made Mu Chen filled with expectation for that realm. How is it? When Qingxian chuckled as she flew to Mu Chen's side. Indeed, it was troublesome. Mu Chen nodded his head. He looked at the huge hall with numerous small green fishes swimming in it as he continued, with so many sovereign spiritual liquid here, it's impossible for us to take all of them. It's fine as long as you're satisfied. Luo Li smiled. Although she knew the worth of sovereign spiritual liquid, she wasn't too strongly attached to it. After all, it was a fool's errand. Mu Chen smiled, since that's the case, then prepare to act. We have to obtain at least as much of sovereign spiritual liquid as we can. It'd have to depend on your capabilities. Rest assured, I will leave you far behind. When Qingxian said with pride. Really? Mu Chen smiled in return. Why don't we have a bet? When Qingxian looked at Mu Chen with provocation as a sly smile rose from her lips, if you lose, then you are not allowed to have any bodily contact with Luo Li during the entire period of the Great Spiritual Academy tournament. Mu Chen and Luo Li were stunned by her bizarre request. It's your bet, how am I involved in it? Luo Li snapped. Then what if you lost? Mu Chen's brows twitched. Thinking of how Wen Qingxian had been constantly provoking him. He coldly smiled as his gaze swept towards Wen Qingxuan's exquisite figure. Sensing his gaze, Wen Qingxian wasn't angered. A charming smile appeared on her beautiful features as she leisurely approached Mu Chen. She placed her hand onto Mu Chen's shoulders as she softly said, if I lose, you can do anything to me. If you take a fancy in a lady like me, then I'm willing to present myself. That can be discussed. Mu Chen looked mockingly at her as he grabbed onto Luo Li's hand. Luo Li is more beautiful in comparison. I'm not interested in this disadvantage deal. You're seeking death. Wen Qingxuan's face turned chill as her brows stood up. Her gentle palm that was placed on Mu Chen's shoulders suddenly pressed down ruthlessly. Ha ha. Mu Chen laughed as he fled. He stepped on the sky as his gaze fell onto those small fishes swimming in the hall as he smiled. If you really want to play, then I'll accompany you this once. Forget about betting. Although I can't fight with you right now, I'm afraid that you won't be able to beat me this time. As he spoke, Mu Chen sat down with his legs crossed. Thereafter, black and white spiritual energy circulated on the surface of his body, emitting bizarre ripples. HMPH, your tone is pretty big. I'll take a look at how you are going to beat me. Wen Qingxuan's character was prideful to begin with. Furthermore, she would constantly make comparisons between him and herself. Hearing his words, how could she stand it? In that instant, he coldly snorted as her figure moved. She had already appeared on the sky as her hands clasped together, emitting dazzling golden light that was spreading out. Luo Li helplessly shook her head as she saw the two people on her left and right competing. Shortly after, she also sat down, placing the Luo God sword on her knees. A faint sword intent was then emitted as she was prepared to start as well. Pure and powerful spiritual energy rippled out, which caused the entire space to fluctuate in the ancient hall. Mu Chen, Luo Li and Wen Qingxian sat in the sky, occupying different locations as boundless spiritual energy spread from them. Clearly, they were going to try to subdue all those sovereign spiritual liquids with their real means. Mu Chen's face was grave as he had tested earlier. He knew how powerful those sovereign spiritual liquids were. If those sovereign spiritual liquids possessed offensive characteristics, Mu Chen would not dare to have any ideas on them, as the spiritual energy contained in every single drop of those sovereign spiritual liquids were more powerful than those he had accumulated in his body. After all, they were things that was refined by sovereign realm experts at a huge expand of their time. Who? A white mist spat out from Mu Chen's mouth as his gaze turned exceptionally grave. Shortly after, both of his palms were pushed forward as black and white spiritual energy formed a huge hand and made a grab towards the greenish small fish that were swimming in the air. Buzz! Buzz! At this instant, Mu Chen had already controlled his spiritual energy to the limits as the huge black and white hand flickered, capturing one small fish and subduing it rapidly. Just as Mu Chen had moved, a clear cry resounded from Wen Qingxuan's location. Golden light flickered, and within the golden light, it seemed as if there was a golden phoenix spreading its wings. The golden light swallowed the small fish that were swimming in the air. After that small-sized golden phoenix had devoured the small fish, it rapidly flew back, turning into a golden feather. That golden phoenix burst forth with dazzling light, which lasted for half an hour before dissipating. When the golden light dissipated, Wen Qingxuan's figure appeared. Her jade-like hands made a grab towards those 10 drops of sovereign spiritual liquid hovering above her hand. In just half an hour's time, she had already subdued 10 drops of sovereign spiritual liquid. The efficiency was several times faster compared to Mu Chen. Wen Qingxian looked at the sovereign spiritual liquid in her hand as she nodded in satisfaction. She then shifted her gaze towards Mu Chen's direction with a provoking gaze. The hand that the latter had formed was from his spiritual energy. Thus, it was clearly inferior compared to the golden phoenix that she had formed. Mu Chen also sensed the provoking gaze from Wen Qingxian as he smiled in response. He was startled by the latter's method. Furthermore, he sensed a familiar fluctuation coming from her golden phoenix. Buzz! Just as Mu Chen's eyes flickered, a clear sword cry resonated as he directed his gaze over. He saw powerful sword intent spreading from Luo Li. That sword intent did not have a form. However, he could felt heart-racing ripples expanded out of it. Buzz! Buzz! The sword cry became more rapid as the Luo God sword that was in Luo Li's hand slightly jolted. In the next instant, the Luo God sword flew out with sword light fluctuating. It formed into a sword river under the sword light. As the sword river whistled, it was like a huge python as it devoured 10 sovereign spiritual liquids. When the sword river devoured those sovereign spiritual liquids, it entrenched itself around Luo Li. Mu Chen could see the Luo god sword emitting sword light within the sword river as it constantly suppressed those retaliating sovereign spiritual liquid. The Luo god sword was, indeed, worthy of being a genuine divine artifact. The power it possessed far surpassed Mu Chen's imagination. Mu Chen had also not seen the true might unleashed by the Luo god sword. However, he felt that if the Luo god sword was to truly unleash its full might, not even the great Meru demonic pillar to contend against it unless Mu Chen unsealed the seal that was placed on it. With the power of the Luo god sword, Luo Li suppressed the sovereign spiritual liquid at a rapid speed. In just half an hour, there were 10 sovereign spiritual liquids quietly floating before her from the sword river. Luo Li grasped her hand as she stored the 10 drops of sovereign spiritual liquid. Thereafter, she looked towards Mu Chen and smiled, wittily pointed towards Wen Qingxuan's direction as she formed words with her mouth, "Don't lose to her." Mu Chen helplessly glared at her. This girl was clearly actually enjoying his misfortune. However, it's time for him to reveal some of his cards. Otherwise, he might really be thrown far away by them. At that time, who knew how Wen Qingxian would mock him at that time? Mu Chen inhaled a mouthful of air as his black pupils became focused. The huge hand that was formed from spiritual energy was dispersed with a wave of his hand. This method of capturing sovereign spiritual liquid was simply too inefficient as it was incomparable to Wen Qingxuan and Luo Li. Mu Chen formed seals with both his hands as he shut his eyes as the spiritual energy around him calmed down. Wen Qingxian and Luo Li had also sensed his actions. Just when they were capturing the sovereign spiritual liquids, they also paid attention to his direction. Black light surfaced from Mu Chen's body under their attention. The light became more and more dense as it gathered behind Mu Chen, vaguely forming the shape of a 9-layered pagoda. There were profound runes on the surface of the 9-layered pagoda with dragon patterns on every single level, making it to seem vivid and lifelike. The dragons roared as though they were about to struggle free from body the 9-layered pagoda. A bizarre suppression of power gradually spread out. The sovereign spiritual liquids that were swimming near Mu Chen looked as though they had sensed a pressure coming from him as they started to escape. "What is that?" Wen Qingxian was lightly startled. This was clearly the first time that she had seen this method from Mu Chen. Furthermore, she could feel the pressure coming from the black 9-layered pagoda. Luo Li's charming eyes was fixed on the black 9-layered pagoda. This was not the first time she had seen it. Furthermore, she knew how powerful it was. Back then, at the divine spiritual mountain of the northern heavens continent, Mu Chen's mother made her appearance and used a similar 9-layered pagoda to refine the yellow dragon sovereign, along with his sovereign celestial body. That scene was so shocking that it made even those big shots of the northern heavens continent dumbfounded. Although his current 9-layered pagoda was incomparable to his mother's, it was definitely not weak. As the 9-layered pagoda hovered behind Mu Chen, black light swept. Those black lights looked as if they contained bizarre power as small fishes lost the power to retaliate the instant the black light was shone on them. Thereafter, they were sucked into the 9-layered pagoda along with the black light. When the small fishes were sucked into the 9-layered pagoda, roars of dragons could be heard from the body of the pagoda. A primordial golden dragon broke away from the body of the 9-layered pagoda as boundless golden flames entered it. The golden flames expanded as they swallowed the small fish. TSSSSSSCE. The golden flames displayed fearsome power when they refined the yellow dragon sovereign along with his sovereign celestial body back when Mu Chen's mother had used similar methods. Therefore, faced with the golden flames, the struggle of those greenish small fishes became weak. In less than 20 minutes, 10 drops of sovereign spiritual liquid were already floating inside the 9-layered pagoda. Mu Chen made a summoning gesture with his hand as the sovereign spiritual liquid flew out and landed on top of his palm. Mu Chen stared at the sovereign spiritual liquid in his hand as a smile surfaced from the corner of his mouth. Ever since he had successfully cultivated the completed version of the Great Pagoda art, his 9-layered pagoda had grown in power. However, he did not use it frequently when he faced his enemies as it was considered trump card. Mu Chen stored the sovereign spiritual liquid as he took a glance at Wen Qingxian. Astonishment were filled on the girl's face. Clearly, she had been startled by Mu Chen's speed. HMPH. However, when she sensed Mu Chen's gaze, she pretended to snort in disdain. She then turned her head and no longer bothered about Mu Chen as started to subdue the sovereign spiritual liquid at full force by controlling the golden phoenix. When Mu Chen saw that the prideful girl being startled by him, he couldn't help smiling as he winked his eyes at Luo Li. You only know how to bully girls. Luo Li rolled her eyes at him as she smiled. She no longer divided her attention and had also focused on the task before her. Mu Chen smiled as he retracted his gaze and calmed his heart. Right now, he had to capture the sovereign spiritual liquid as quickly as possible. It wasn't easy to encounter such a place again. Even in the Great Thousand World, with such amount of sovereign spiritual liquid in this place, it could even attract the attention of countless sovereign realms experts to fight for it. At that point of time, it wouldn't be like the small scuffles that they had with Mo Yu and his group. Therefore, he had to grab hold of this opportunity to capture as much sovereign spiritual liquid as quickly as possible since it would greatly benefit his future cultivation. After all, it would require quite an amount of sovereign spiritual liquid to enter the realm of a sovereign. Rumble. Rumble. As Mu Chen calmed his heart, the 9-layered pagoda behind him emitted black lights. Those black lights enveloped the small fish and, thereafter, suppressed and subdued them. Within the ancient hall, the whistling of spiritual energy resounded as the golden phoenix, Sword River, and the black pagoda occupied a corner. As time passed, those small fishes were turned into sovereign spiritual liquid and stored away by the three people. The three of them gained the greatest benefit in this trip to the hidden spiritual courtyard. Time rapidly went past in the hall. 3 dazzling lights occupied 3 corners as light intertwined with powerful spiritual energy ripples being emitted. Under the envelopment of the 3 dazzling lights, those small fishes that were swimming in the air were constantly being hunted, turning into sparkling sovereign spiritual liquid with every single drop of it containing majestic spiritual energy. The 3 people spent half a day's time to capture them. As more and more greenish small fish were being captured, the green lake in the center of the hall suddenly made a fine ripple. Thereafter, it was as if a suction force was being emitted as the small fish that were swimming in the air escaped into the lake. Plop! The instant they entered the lake, their bodies rapidly liquefied as they merged into it and disappeared. The hall became empty once again. Because of the disappearance of the small fish, the 3 dazzling lights gradually faded away as Mu Chen, Luo Li, and Wen Qingxuan's figures appeared. They were a little confused as they exchanged looks. Their eyes were still filled with discontent as they were clearly not satisfied yet. What's going on? Mu Chen stared at the green lake as he furrowed his brows. All that sovereign spiritual liquid withdrew. There must be a limit to how much sovereign spiritual liquid one can obtain at a time. Luo Li muttered. But I am still not satisfied. When Qingxian stared at the green lake in unhappiness as she snorted, if you want to obstruct me, then I'll take you as well. As she finished speaking, she swept her hands as countless golden feathers shot out, towards the green lake. Buzz! However, when the golden feathers came in contact with the green lake, it had dissipated the golden light at a rapid speed as the spiritual energy contained within it was rapidly being sucked away by the lake. HM? When Qingxian exclaimed as her face turned grave. She stared at the lake before her as her eyes flicked and yelled in a startled tone, "It's actually a spiritual artifact." Mu Chen's heart was also jolted when he heard her voice. The lake that could hold so much sovereign spiritual liquid was actually a spiritual artifact. Didn't that mean that if he could take this spiritual artifact, he would have obtained a large amount of sovereign spiritual liquid? Mu Chen's figure flew out as he stopped at the edge of the lake. He focused his gaze over and realized that there seemed to be an ancient text within the lake. This is Spiritual Condensing Bowl? Mu Chen stared at the ancient text as he murmured. Spiritual Condensing Bowl? How is that possible? When they heard that name, Wen Qingxian and Luo Li's faces changed. They quickly sped over with their gazes filled with astonishment. Why? What is a spiritual condensing bowl? Mu Chen asked in astonishment when he saw the reaction from the 2 girls. HMPH, ignorant guy. In the ancient antiquity, there was a special race. They were known as the spiritual condensing race as they possessed a special ability. The spiritual artifact that they created would possess the effect of condensing spiritual energy. Their pinnacle masterpiece was the spiritual condensing bowl. Activating the bowl could shadow the vast heavens and earth. Any form of spiritual energy would be sucked into it and would automatically turn into sovereign spiritual liquid, said Wen Qingxian. Mu Chen's face changed. Any form of spiritual energy would be turned into sovereign spiritual liquid? There was such a fearsome treasure in this world? Didn't that mean that the one who possessed this treasure would be equivalent to obtaining an inexhaustible amount of sovereign spiritual liquid? If that was the case, then this spiritual artifact is even more fearsome than a divine artifact. If such an item was placed in the Great Thousand World, even those powerful forces would fight over it. The price of a spiritual condensing bowl is something that even my Luo God Sword could not be compared to. It is not a divine artifact, but it's at a higher level compared to that, a primordial saint artifact. Luo Li said softly. The unfamiliar name of primordial saint artifact brought an unspeakable pressure to Mu Chen. Such an item was not something that he could imagine. The origin of this thing is so huge. Aside from being startled, Mu Chen was feeling troubled in his heart. If this spiritual condensing bowl was so frightening, it was not something that he could possess. If even the slightest news of such an item was leaked out, he could guarantee that he would not have peace. A coarse fellow was not guilty, but in possession of a treasure, he was. Before he possessed absolute strength, such a treasure was not something that Mu Chen would lay his hands on. However, this spiritual condensing bowl is not genuine. Wen Qingxian said firmly. A counterfeit? Mu Chen was blanked. Correct. Although the Divine Wood Palace possessed great power, it could not be considered as a pinnacle force in the Great Thousand World back then. Even in this shattered continent, the Divine Wood Palace could only proclaim monarchy to a corner of it. Such a primordial saint artifact was not something that the Divine Wood Palace could undertake. Luo Li also nodded her head. Therefore, this spiritual condensing bowl before our eyes should be a counterfeit. Even a counterfeit is so powerful. Mu Chen licked his lips. His heart that was suppressed before blazed. If this spiritual condensing bowl was the genuine good, he would naturally not have any thoughts about it and would only remember it in his heart, till his strength was powerful enough before he come to take it away. Since it was a counterfeit, the price of it would drop a lot more and it would be worth the risk for him. There are many counterfeit spiritual condensing bowls. Some pinnacle force would be in possession of such an item. Therefore, it was not too unbelievable for the Divine Wood Palace to have it, said Luo Li. Then, can we take it away? Asked Mu Chen. Only now did he understand that the most valuable item in the hidden spiritual courtyard was not the sovereign spiritual liquid, but this counterfeit spiritual condensing bowl. When Qingxian and Luo Li exchanged a glance as they nodded their heads. Their background wasn't weak, but they still could not help but to be tempted by this spiritual condensing bowl, since the amount of sovereign spiritual liquids that they had obtained was only a small portion compared to the amount contained in the spiritual condensing bowl. Majestic spiritual energy swept out from Mu Chen's palm as it twined towards the lake that was formed by the spiritual condensing bowl. However, the instant his spiritual energy approached the spiritual condensing bowl, the spiritual energy was sucked into it. His figure jolted as his gaze turned grave. The spiritual condensing bowl would automatically absorb any approaching spiritual energy. I'm afraid that with our strength, it's impossible for us to take it. Luo Li said helplessly. When Qingxian also sighed in pity. The treasure was just before her, but she couldn't take it away. It had really made her feel unwilling. Mu Chen pondered when a light flickered. His expression changed as an ancient tree rune appeared from his forehead. Earlier, the courtyard spirit mentioned that I was the successor. Since I'm the successor, then I will naturally have the qualifications to inherit the things here. Mu Chen pointed at the rune on his forehead as he continued, let me try moving it. When Qingxian and Luo Li nodded. Since they did not have any other methods, why not let Mu Chen give it a try? Mu Chen's gaze gathered and the ancient tree rune on his forehead flickered with a faint luster. A moment later, the rune burst forth with green light as it spread out and enveloped the greenish lake. Buzz. Buzz. As everything became enshrouded by the greenish light, the originally calm lake started to ripple as a faint light was shot from the lake. At the sight of this scene, Luo Li and Wen Qingxian felt excited. It was indeed useful. The light in the lake became more dense and, thereafter, the lake had started to shrink. A few minutes later, the huge lake had turned into an antique greenish jade bowl as it flew over, swaying before landing on Mu Chen's palm that was extended. Mu Chen, Luo Li and Wen Qingxian had directed their gazes over. The ancient jade bowl had quietly rested on Mu Chen's palm as complicated vein patterns could be seen around the bowl. The patterns were a little scarlet red. It was said that during the creation of the spiritual condensing bowl, aside from various countless materials, there was also an ingredient, blood of the spiritual condensing race. Within the jade bowl, it was as if there was boundless liquid swaying about. However, it was unable to escape from the mouth of the bowl. Quick, look at how much sovereign spiritual liquid is there. Wen Qingxian couldn't endure it as she asked. Mu Chen nodded his head as he controlled his intent into the spiritual condensing bowl. However, as he probed, the spiritual condensing bowl emitted greenish light that blocked off his probe. At the same time, a boundless light appeared from the mouth of the bowl as an ancient rune could be seen in that light. Mu Chen's face turned stiff at this instant. The spiritual condensing bowl is sealed. Mu Chen bitterly smiled. Let me try. Wen Qingxian refused to believe as she extended her hand and grabbed the spiritual condensing bowl. She controlled her spiritual energy and realized that it was impossible to look into the spiritual condensing bowl. She also could not extract the sovereign spiritual liquid within it. The light possessed powerful defense and the seal was not something that they would deal with. Bastard! Wen Qingxian was enraged as she threw it back to Mu Chen with hatred. It only benefited you. Mu Chen awkwardly scratched his head as he received it. A jade bottle appeared in his hand. It was sparkling and translucent as drops of liquid could be seen in it. I have taken a total of 124 sovereign spiritual liquid. I'll give it all to you. He knew how precious the spiritual condensing bowl was, since it was not something that slightly more than 100 sovereign spiritual liquid could be compared to. However, he did not have the intention to monopolize it. Forget it, it was something that was obtained by you. I don't want it. Wen Qingxian cast her lips aside as she continued, however, the spiritual condensing bowl is yours. But me and Luo Li have a share in the sovereign spiritual liquid in it. Take note of it and give back to us double the amount in the future. Although Wen Qingxian said those words, she was clearly just rambling. Thanks, consider it as me owing you a favor. Mu Chen said in a serious tone. With Luo Li and Wen Qingxuan's backgrounds, perhaps this counterfeit spiritual condensing bowl wasn't an inseparable treasure. However, to Mu Chen, who did not have any background, it was an important item. Rest assured, although your favor isn't worth anything, I will still remember it. Wen Qingxian said as her rosy lips rose. Mu Chen smiled before looking at Luo Li. The latter gently smiled. With their relationship, there wasn't a need to divide things so clearly between the both of them. Let's go. It's almost time and perhaps Xu Huang and the rest are also anxiously waiting. Luo Li said gently. Hearing her words, Mu Chen smiled as he nodded. Since he had already obtained the spiritual condensing bowl, there wasn't a need to stay here anymore. Let's go. Mu Chen waved his hand and he turned around without any hesitation. Luo Li and Wen Qingxian followed his pace. As the three of them left, the gate of the hidden spiritual courtyard slowly closed as it returned to its original quiet state. This episode ends here. Thank you for watching.